Honey, when a snake sheds its skin, it doesn't become a butterfly. It's still a snake, just waiting for the right moment to strike a new victim. And that, my darlings, is the story of my life's great betrayal. Well, hello there, my precious ones. Gather close, pull up a chair, and hold your sweet tea. Because tonight, Auntie May isn't talking about biscuits or garden roses. Tonight, we're talking about consequence. We're talking about what happens when two people you love, two people who swore solemn oaths, decide to swap decency for trash. You think you've seen drama, but honey, let me tell you, you haven't seen anything until you've watched a woman take back her dignity, one calculated, ice-cold step at a time. This ain't about crying, this is about winning the war you didn't ask to fight. The 21st century presents humanity with a twofold challenge: we must manage unprecedented technological acceleration and we must simultaneously avert catastrophic environmental decline. This dual imperative forms the central premise of Keynote 1, a concept focused on the necessary convergence of artificial intelligence and global sustainability. These two fields, once considered separate domains, are now inextricably linked, forming a powerful synergistic relationship that offers perhaps the best pathway to a durable future. The scale of the environmental crisis is immense, demanding solutions that operate across planetary systems. Traditional methods of policy making and manual analysis are simply insufficient. Only through the rapid processing power, the complex pattern recognition, and the predictive modeling capabilities of advanced AI can we hope to match the speed and complexity of climate change, ecological degradation, and resource depletion. This keynote explores the fundamental mechanisms of this convergence, its transformative applications across key sectors, and the critical ethical considerations that must govern its deployment. Artificial intelligence serves as a sophisticated engine for optimizing planetary management. It is far more than just a set of algorithms or a coding paradigm. It encompasses machine learning, deep learning neural networks, and large language models, each providing unique tools for environmental challenges. Machine learning algorithms can process petabytes of climate data, identifying subtle trends and causal factors that human researchers might overlook. This accelerates fundamental scientific discovery. Predictive analytics allows us to forecast future resource demands, energy production needs, and disaster risks with greater accuracy and lead time. This transforms reactive management into proactive planning. Furthermore, computer vision technologies analyze satellite imagery and drone footage, monitoring deforestation, tracking ice melt, and surveying biodiversity in real time. This provides an instantaneous global environmental audit. The sheer volume, speed, and variety of data involved in sustainability initiatives necessitate this reliance on computational intelligence. Without AI, the task of monitoring the Earth would be overwhelmingly large and impossibly slow. One of the most immediate and profound applications lies in climate modeling and Earth observation. Traditional climate models are computationally expensive and often limited in their spatial resolution. AI dramatically changes this landscape. Deep learning models can be trained on vast historical climate datasets, enabling them to create ultra-high-resolution forecasts of extreme weather events such as floods, droughts, and hurricanes. This allows communities to prepare and infrastructure to be hardened. Beyond prediction, AI is vital for resource management. In agriculture, for instance, precision farming uses AI to analyze soil health, moisture levels, and nutrient deficiencies at the individual plant level. This minimizes the use of water, fertilizer, and pesticides, simultaneously boosting crop yields and reducing chemical runoff. Water systems use AI to detect leaks, optimize pumping schedules, and predict future consumption patterns, ensuring efficient allocation of this finite resource, especially in drought-prone regions. This optimization leads directly to a smaller environmental footprint for vital human activities. The energy sector represents a critical frontier for AI integration. The transition to renewable energy like solar and wind power introduces inherent intermittency. The sun does not always shine and the wind does not always blow. AI is the essential tool for managing this variability. Smart grids employ machine learning to predict renewable energy output minute by minute based on highly localized weather forecasts. This allows grid operators to balance supply and demand dynamically, preventing blackouts and minimizing reliance on fossil fuel backups. AI also optimizes the performance and longevity of energy storage systems like large-scale batteries. It learns the optimal charging and discharging cycles, extending battery life and improving overall grid efficiency. Furthermore, AI algorithms are accelerating the discovery of new materials for solar cells and batteries, simulating millions of molecular structures to find those with superior performance characteristics. This fast-tracks the next generation of clean energy technology. This entire energy transition hinges not just on building new hardware but on deploying intelligent software to manage it effectively and efficiently. Beyond energy, the principles of sustainability require a complete rethinking of industrial processes, particularly concerning supply chain efficiency and the circular economy. Global supply chains are notoriously complex, opaque, and resource-intensive. AI offers unprecedented levels of visibility and optimization. Machine learning can analyze shipping routes, warehouse locations, and delivery schedules, minimizing the total distance traveled and thus reducing carbon emissions from logistics. Moreover, AI is essential for waste management and promoting circularity. Computer vision systems deployed in recycling facilities can rapidly and accurately sort mixed materials, distinguishing between different types of plastic, metal, and paper. This significantly increases the purity and therefore the value and reusability of recycled streams. Algorithms also design products for easier disassembly and repair, calculating the environmental impact of various material choices at the initial design phase. This embeds sustainability into the core product lifecycle rather than treating it as an afterthought. While the potential benefits are vast, the ethical and practical challenges of this AI sustainability convergence cannot be ignored. They demand careful and immediate attention. The first significant challenge is the environmental cost of AI itself. Training large sophisticated models like large language models requires substantial amounts of energy and water. This creates a trade-off where the tool designed to solve environmental problems is also contributing to them. Developers must prioritize the creation of smaller, more efficient models and utilize renewable energy sources for training and deployment. Green AI practices must become the industry standard, not an exception. A second challenge revolves around data governance and equitable access. Environmental data must be shared globally, openly, and transparently for AI models to be maximally effective. Yet privacy concerns, intellectual property rights, and national security interests often obstruct this necessary flow of information. We must establish international protocols and open science initiatives to democratize access to these powerful tools and the environmental insights they generate. The benefits of AI for sustainability must be available to all nations, especially those most vulnerable to climate impacts. The future of sustainability depends on navigating this complex terrain successfully. It requires a new global consensus on the role of technology. We need stronger regulatory frameworks that mandate sustainability metrics in AI development. This ensures that optimization is not solely focused on profit but also explicitly includes ecological welfare. Education systems must adapt to produce a new generation of professionals who are fluent in both computer science and ecology. These eco-technologists will be the architects of a sustainable future. Ultimately, the convergence of AI and sustainability is a moral as well as a technical endeavor. It asks us to use the most advanced tools ever created, not merely to extend the status quo but to fundamentally redesign our relationship with the planet. The promise is not just a cleaner world but a smarter, more resilient, and fundamentally fairer global society. This transformation is within our reach if we proceed with deliberate purpose and uncompromising responsibility. We must commit to a path where technology serves life, where intelligence is harnessed for balance, and where progress is measured not by growth alone but by enduring ecological health. This is the mandate of Keynote 1, a call for intelligent action on a global scale. This immense task demands immediate dedication and unwavering cooperation among governments, corporations, and citizens worldwide. The time for passive observation is over. The era of algorithmic action has begun. The next decade will define our long-term success or failure. The foundation is AI. The goal is a stable Earth. The global labor market stands at the precipice of its most significant transformation since the Industrial Revolution. This change is driven not by steam power or assembly lines but by the relentless advancement of artificial intelligence and sophisticated automation. Keynote 2 addresses this profound shift, articulating a future where human effort is not eliminated but fundamentally redefined. The era of complete human dominance in labor is fading and a new paradigm of the human-machine partnership is rapidly emerging. This convergence forces every organization, every employee, and every educational system to critically reassess the intrinsic value of human capital. The tasks that machines perform best are rapidly changing, and consequently the activities that only humans can undertake are becoming the new economic currency. This expansive change is characterized by deep uncertainty for many people, yet it also presents an unparalleled opportunity to eliminate drudgery, improve productivity, and unlock human creative potential on a massive scale. Navigating this transition successfully requires clear foresight, proactive policy, and a collective commitment to lifelong learning across all demographics and industries worldwide. The future of work is not a binary choice between human and machine. It is a complex collaborative matrix where our greatest challenge is defining the boundaries and maximizing the synergy between these powerful and complementary intelligences. The misconception that automation simply replaces entire jobs wholesale is a dangerous oversimplification, and it hinders effective planning. The reality is far more nuanced and task-focused. Modern AI and robotics primarily automate specific tasks within jobs, leaving humans to focus on the interconnected activities that require flexible judgment and deep contextual understanding. Routine cognitive tasks like data entry, simple analysis, report generation, and standardized administrative processes are rapidly being transferred to algorithmic execution. This shift frees up human time from mundane, repetitive duties, allowing employees to focus on more complex, valuable strategic work. Physical automation driven by advanced cobots or collaborative robots is moving beyond the factory floor into logistics, healthcare, and even personal services, performing lifting, sorting, and precise manipulation with superhuman consistency and strength. This enhances workplace safety and exponentially boosts efficiency in heavy labor sectors such as construction and manufacturing. The distinction between automating tasks and automating jobs is crucial because it highlights the necessity of skill modularity for human workers. Individuals must learn to partition their responsibilities, identifying which elements are ripe for machine assistance and which demand uniquely human capabilities such as ethical review, client relations, or creative ideation and development. The speed of technological adoption is not uniform across the world or even within specific industries. However, the underlying trend is irreversible and necessitates a strategic approach to upskilling and career adaptation that acknowledges the machine as a permanent, ubiquitous coworker, a partner in the daily execution of business and organizational goals. This partnership transforms the role of the human from a tool for output to an orchestrator of intelligent systems, demanding a higher level of abstract thinking and oversight. As machines absorb routine and predictable tasks, the economic value of purely technical or repetitive skills diminishes. The skills that resist automation and appreciate in value are those uniquely linked to human consciousness and complex interaction. The new skill imperative focuses intensely on capabilities such as critical thinking, which involves synthesizing diverse information, assessing conflicting data, and making judgments under ambiguity. This remains a fundamental human strength, particularly when dealing with novel situations or complex ethical dilemmas where algorithms lack true judgment. Creativity, defined as generating novel solutions or artistic expressions, holds immense worth in a mechanized world. Machines can iterate rapidly on existing patterns, but humans are essential for genuine conceptual leaps and the development of entirely new products, services, and artistic forms. Emotional intelligence or empathy is indispensable for high-value interactions like sales, negotiation, complex teamwork, and therapeutic care. These human-to-human connections cannot be replicated by current or foreseeable artificial intelligences, since trust, rapport, and understanding subtle nonverbal cues are inherently human domains. Furthermore, the capacity for complex communication and cross-disciplinary collaboration becomes paramount. The future worker must effectively communicate outcomes and guide the output of their AI partners, translating technical insights into human strategy and vice versa. Education systems must undergo a radical transformation, shifting away from rote memorization and procedural training toward fostering these uniquely human adaptive skills. The ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn quickly is now the single most important meta-skill for career resilience and personal success in this new augmented landscape, a foundation for continuous professional development throughout a person's entire career trajectory. The physical and digital environments of work are merging, creating truly hybrid workplaces that leverage both human presence and intelligent systems across vast geographical distances. Digital tools are moving beyond simple software into sophisticated augmented reality or AR environments that provide real-time information overlaid on physical tasks. Maintenance technicians receive instant diagnostics and repair instructions directly projected onto the machinery they are fixing. This overlay of digital data onto the physical world dramatically reduces errors and training time while increasing precision and speed of task completion, especially in complex maintenance or assembly operations. The concept of the digital twin is also crucial to modern industrial and urban planning. This is a virtual replica of a physical system, process, or product that allows humans to simulate, test, and optimize performance without ever touching the physical asset itself. Factories, cities, power grids, and even logistical networks are now modeled as digital twins, allowing teams to collaborate on optimization problems remotely and efficiently, testing countless scenarios at lightning speed to find the most sustainable and efficient operational strategies. This level of digital integration demands workers who are technologically fluent, not necessarily as deep technical experts but as sophisticated users who understand the limitations and potential of their digital tools. They must be able to interpret the output of complex models and intervene intelligently when those models fail or produce anomalous results, requiring human judgment to correct algorithmic drift or system failure. The hybrid workplace is therefore an adaptive ecosystem built on continuous feedback loops between human intuition and algorithmic data processing. It requires psychological safety and a culture of trust where humans feel empowered to challenge machine recommendations when their experience dictates a different course of action, a blend of intuition and data driving better outcomes. The scale of this labor transformation introduces serious societal challenges that require comprehensive political and ethical governance. Simply maximizing productivity is an incomplete and dangerous goal if it leaves large segments of the population behind. Widespread automation of low-skilled jobs could exacerbate existing economic inequality, creating a large population of structurally unemployed or underemployed workers. This necessitates serious exploration of universal basic income or UBI or other robust social safety nets designed to decouple basic human welfare from full-time employment. Furthermore, the introduction of AI into sensitive functions like hiring, performance review, and resource allocation raises serious ethical flags regarding bias and fairness in organizational practices. Algorithms trained on historical data inevitably encode and amplify past human prejudices, resulting in unfair outcomes unless they are carefully designed, audited, and governed. Rigorous oversight and regulatory frameworks are essential to ensure AI systems are deployed equitably and transparently without creating new forms of systemic discrimination against protected groups or marginalized communities. The digital divide, which separates those with access to technology and the requisite new skills from those without, is also widening rapidly, threatening to leave entire communities behind. This requires massive public investment in digital infrastructure, accessible education, and targeted reskilling programs, especially in rural and underserved communities globally. The successful transition to the human-machine partnership requires a moral compass that guides technological deployment. We must deliberately choose augmentation over replacement and actively manage the social costs of progress, ensuring that the benefits of unprecedented productivity are broadly shared across the entire human population, not just concentrated in the hands of a few privileged technologists or powerful corporations. Ethical AI development is as much a social policy issue as it is a technical one, demanding interdisciplinary solutions. The convergence of advanced automation and human labor represents a turning point in history. It demands we redefine what it means to work and what constitutes human value in a hyper-efficient world. We must proactively embrace the machine not as a rival or a threat but as a powerful collaborator ready to take on the burdens of repetition and pure calculation. This partnership liberates human energy for higher-order pursuits like creativity, complex strategic thinking, and deepening human connection, which are the true sources of human flourishing. The challenge is structural, educational, and ethical. It requires simultaneous reforms in public policy, curriculum design, and corporate responsibility to create a future that is both technologically advanced and socially just. We must champion lifelong learning as a continuous necessity, not a periodic option, integrating it into the standard expectation for all modern workers. We must build resilient social systems that support citizens through periods of economic transition and job displacement, and we must govern AI with principles of fairness, transparency, and human-centered design, ensuring the technology serves humanity. The future of work is ultimately the future of humanity itself. It is a future where machines handle the data and the drudgery, and humans provide the purpose, the judgment, and the soul, the essential ingredients of meaningful work. This transformative vision is not an inevitability, it is a choice that we must make consciously, deliberately and collaboratively, starting right now with a sense of urgency and shared purpose. The time for hesitant contemplation is past, the moment for decisive action and structural change is upon us to secure a prosperous and equitable tomorrow for all citizens of the world. The technological acceleration of the past 2 decades has precipitated a profound crisis in global governance. The speed of artificial intelligence deployment and ubiquitous automation systems dramatically outpaces the capacity of traditional legislative and regulatory bodies to respond effectively. This resulting regulatory lag creates a vacuum, a space where powerful technologies operate largely unfettered by clear moral or legal boundaries. This oversight poses an existential risk to societal fairness, political stability, and fundamental human rights worldwide. We stand at a critical juncture where the very definition of accountability, responsibility, and trust must be urgently renegotiated for an era dominated by intelligent autonomous agents. The foundational social contract, the agreement between citizen and state designed for a purely human world, is being stress-tested by non-human actors, defining the ethical framework for machines that learn, decide, and act with minimal human supervision is the paramount challenge of this decade, a necessity for preventing technological progress from devolving into societal chaos. Addressing this crisis requires a global concerted effort involving technologists, policymakers, ethicists, and the public to codify a new set of digital rights and machine responsibilities. The most immediate ethical challenge lies in ensuring algorithmic fairness and transparency within the systems that now mediate human life, from loan applications and hiring processes to criminal justice and resource allocation. Artificial intelligence models are inherently susceptible to systemic bias as they are trained on vast datasets reflecting historical human decisions and prejudices. Without careful intervention, these systems merely automate and amplify existing societal inequalities, making discrimination faster, cheaper, and harder to detect. The black box nature of many deep learning models further complicates governance. When an AI makes a critical decision, the lack of an intelligible explanation or clear justification erodes public trust and prevents effective legal challenge. We must demand explainable AI, or XAI, where system outputs are accompanied by clear, intelligible reasoning suitable for human review. This is not just a technical requirement but a moral imperative to uphold due process and prevent opaque, arbitrary power. Governing these systems requires mandatory external audits, independent review boards, and regulatory sandboxes where AI performance is scrutinized for disparate impact across various demographic groups. Simple statements of ethical intent are insufficient, and only rigorous, continuous technical oversight can secure genuine algorithmic justice for all citizens. The decentralized nature of modern technology complicates enforcement for existing centralized legal structures. The rise of decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs, presents a new paradigm for governance that challenges the state monopoly on rulemaking. DAOs powered by blockchain technology operate via code, eliminating the need for hierarchical human management and formal legal jurisdictions. They represent a fundamental shift in how trust is established and decisions are executed. While DAOs offer exciting opportunities for transparency and community-focused governance, they also create legal ambiguity regarding liability and contractual enforcement. When a DAO operates across multiple sovereign borders, which nations' laws apply and who is responsible when automated code executes a damaging or illegal action? This highlights the urgent need for international legal harmonization and the creation of digital jurisdiction frameworks that can accommodate immutable distributed systems. Existing national laws often clash or fail entirely when confronted with a borderless self-executing entity like a sophisticated DAO. The future of digital governance will likely be a hybrid model integrating decentralized self-rule with centralized regulatory oversight. This requires policymakers to become fluent in blockchain technology and cryptographic proofs, a necessary step for maintaining judicial relevance in the face of radical technological decentralization. A related and perhaps more perilous ethical frontier concerns the delegation of lethal and non-lethal autonomy to machines. This involves systems such as self-driving vehicles and, crucially, lethal autonomous weapons systems or laws. The introduction of self-driving cars immediately forces ethical trade-offs known as trolley problems into code. Should an autonomous vehicle prioritize the life of its occupant or a greater number of pedestrians when an accident is unavoidable? Codifying such moral calculus requires public consensus, philosophical review, and legal protections for both programmers and users. These are decisions historically reserved for immediate human judgment under duress. The deployment of laws raises the stakes to an unprecedented level. Delegating the authority to terminate human life to a machine devoid of human empathy or contextual understanding is profoundly destabilizing to international humanitarian law. The current global consensus is fragile but tending towards a ban or strict international regulation on fully autonomous weapons capable of making kill decisions without a human in the loop. Protecting the human in the loop principle is non-negotiable, a bulwark against indiscriminate warfare and the complete erosion of accountability in conflict. The sheer complexity of these decisions requires ethical codes to be built into the very hardware and software of autonomous systems, creating a new discipline of moral engineering that bridges computer science and moral philosophy. The necessary adaptation to this hyper-automated ethical landscape requires massive shifts in both global policy and educational priorities worldwide. We cannot regulate what we do not understand, and we cannot govern without broad technical literacy across the political class. Policymakers must engage in deep systemic learning about machine learning, quantum computing, and distributed ledger technologies. Legislation written today must anticipate the technological realities of a decade from now, demanding foresight and agility often lacking in bureaucratic structures. Global cooperation is paramount because AI systems developed in one country immediately affect the economies and societies of all others. Organizations like the United Nations, the G20, and multilateral technology alliances must establish common standards, protocols, and data sharing agreements to manage the cross-border impact of AI and automation. Furthermore, the education system must pivot rapidly to foster ethical literacy alongside technical skills. Future citizens and workers need not only to code but to think critically about the societal impact of their code. We must train a new generation of techno-ethicists who can navigate the complex intersections of technological capability and moral responsibility, serving as the critical translators between innovation and human values. This requires introducing ethical reasoning, computational thinking, and digital law into curricula from primary school through professional training programs globally. Ultimately, the challenge of governing automation is a reflection of our own human capacity for self-regulation and collective foresight. The machines are merely tools reflecting the best and worst of their human creators. We must move beyond reactive regulation, which attempts to fix problems after they have caused harm. We must commit to proactive governance, anticipating risks before deployment and designing technologies that are inherently safer, fairer, and more transparent from the outset. This requires establishing global institutions dedicated solely to the oversight of artificial general intelligence and highly autonomous systems, ensuring they align with core human values like dignity, liberty, and equality for all people. The complexity of this task is immense, but the stakes are far higher than any previous technological revolution. The decisions we make in the next few years regarding the ethics of autonomy and the fairness of our algorithms will define the quality of life, the distribution of power, and the very structure of society for generations to come. We must choose to be the architects of a future where technology serves humanity's highest ideals, not merely its basest efficiencies. This requires courageous leadership, principled innovation, and an unwavering commitment to the moral governance of the hyper-automated world, an essential undertaking for maintaining civilizational integrity and global harmony. This is our keynote, our responsibility. The technological acceleration of the past 2 decades has precipitated a profound crisis in global governance. The speed of artificial intelligence deployment and ubiquitous automation systems dramatically outpaces the capacity of traditional legislative and regulatory bodies to respond effectively. This resulting regulatory lag creates a vacuum, a space where powerful technologies operate largely unfettered by clear moral or legal boundaries. This oversight poses an existential risk to societal fairness, political stability, and fundamental human rights worldwide. We stand at a critical juncture where the very definition of accountability, responsibility, and trust must be urgently renegotiated for an era dominated by intelligent autonomous agents. The foundational social contract, the agreement between citizen and state designed for a purely human world, is being stress-tested by non-human actors, defining the ethical framework for machines that learn, decide, and act with minimal human supervision is the paramount challenge of this decade, a necessity for preventing technological progress from devolving into societal chaos. Addressing this crisis requires a global concerted effort involving technologists, policymakers, ethicists, and the public to codify a new set of digital rights and machine responsibilities. The most immediate ethical challenge lies in ensuring algorithmic fairness and transparency within the systems that now mediate human life, from loan applications and hiring processes to criminal justice and resource allocation. Artificial intelligence models are inherently susceptible to systemic bias as they are trained on vast datasets reflecting historical human decisions and prejudices. Without careful intervention, these systems merely automate and amplify existing societal inequalities, making discrimination faster, cheaper, and harder to detect. The black box nature of many deep learning models further complicates governance. When an AI makes a critical decision, the lack of an intelligible explanation or clear justification erodes public trust and prevents effective legal challenge. We must demand explainable AI or XAI where system outputs are accompanied by clear, intelligible reasoning suitable for human review. This is not just a technical requirement but a moral imperative to uphold due process and prevent opaque, arbitrary power. Governing these systems requires mandatory external audits, independent review boards, and regulatory sandboxes where AI performance is scrutinized for disparate impact across various demographic groups. Simple statements of ethical intent are insufficient, and only rigorous, continuous technical oversight can secure genuine algorithmic justice for all citizens. The decentralized nature of modern technology complicates enforcement for existing centralized legal structures. The rise of decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs, presents a new paradigm for governance that challenges the state monopoly on rulemaking. DAOs powered by blockchain technology operate via code, eliminating the need for hierarchical human management and formal legal jurisdictions. They represent a fundamental shift in how trust is established and decisions are executed. While DAOs offer exciting opportunities for transparency and community-focused governance, they also create legal ambiguity regarding liability and contractual enforcement. When a DAO operates across multiple sovereign borders, which nations' laws apply and who is responsible when automated code executes a damaging or illegal action? This highlights the urgent need for international legal harmonization and the creation of digital jurisdiction frameworks that can accommodate immutable distributed systems. Existing national laws often clash or fail entirely when confronted with a borderless, self-executing entity like a sophisticated DAO. The future of digital governance will likely be a hybrid model integrating decentralized self-rule with centralized regulatory oversight. This requires policymakers to become fluent in blockchain technology and cryptographic proofs, a necessary step for maintaining judicial relevance in the face of radical technological decentralization. A related and perhaps more perilous ethical frontier concerns the delegation of lethal and non-lethal autonomy to machines. This involves systems such as self-driving vehicles and, crucially, lethal autonomous weapons systems or laws. The introduction of self-driving cars immediately forces ethical trade-offs known as trolley problems into code. Should an autonomous vehicle prioritize the life of its occupant or a greater number of pedestrians when an accident is unavoidable? Codifying such moral calculus requires public consensus, philosophical review, and legal protections for both programmers and users. These are decisions historically reserved for immediate human judgment under duress. The deployment of laws raises the stakes to an unprecedented level. Delegating the authority to terminate human life to a machine devoid of human empathy or contextual understanding is profoundly destabilizing to international humanitarian law. The current global consensus is fragile but tending towards a ban or strict international regulation on fully autonomous weapons capable of making kill decisions without a human in the loop. Protecting the human in the loop principle is non-negotiable, a bulwark against indiscriminate warfare and the complete erosion of accountability in conflict. The sheer complexity of these decisions requires ethical codes to be built into the very hardware and software of autonomous systems, creating a new discipline of moral engineering that bridges computer science and moral philosophy. The necessary adaptation to this hyper-automated ethical landscape requires massive shifts in both global policy and educational priorities worldwide. We cannot regulate what we do not understand, and we cannot govern without broad technical literacy across the political class. Policymakers must engage in deep systemic learning about machine learning, quantum computing, and distributed ledger technologies. Legislation written today must anticipate the technological realities of a decade from now, demanding foresight and agility often lacking in bureaucratic structures. Global cooperation is paramount because AI systems developed in one country immediately affect the economies and societies of all others. Organizations like the United Nations, the G20 and multilateral technology alliances must establish common standards, protocols and data sharing agreements to manage the cross-border impact of AI and automation. Furthermore, the education system must pivot rapidly to foster ethical literacy alongside technical skills. Future citizens and workers need not only to code but to think critically about the societal impact of their code. We must train a new generation of techno-ethicists who can navigate the complex intersections of technological capability and moral responsibility, serving as the critical translators between innovation and human values. This requires introducing ethical reasoning, computational thinking and digital law into curricula from primary school through professional training programs globally. Ultimately, the challenge of governing automation is a reflection of our own human capacity for self-regulation and collective foresight. The machines are merely tools reflecting the best and worst of their human creators. We must move beyond reactive regulation, which attempts to fix problems after they have caused harm. We must commit to proactive governance, anticipating risks before deployment and designing technologies that are inherently safer, fairer and more transparent from the outset. This requires establishing global institutions dedicated solely to the oversight of artificial general intelligence and highly autonomous systems, ensuring they align with core human values like dignity, liberty, and equality for all people. The complexity of this task is immense, but the stakes are far higher than any previous technological revolution. The decisions we make in the next few years regarding the ethics of autonomy and the fairness of our algorithms will define the quality of life, the distribution of power, and the very structure of society for generations to come. We must choose to be the architects of a future where technology serves humanity's highest ideals, not merely its basest efficiencies. This requires courageous leadership, principled innovation, and an unwavering commitment to the moral governance of the hyper-automated world, an essential undertaking for maintaining civilizational integrity and global harmony. The technological acceleration driven by widespread artificial intelligence and advanced robotics is initiating the most profound structural shift in the global economy since the Industrial Revolution. This change is characterized by the wholesale displacement of human labor from both routine manual and complex cognitive tasks. We are entering an era of hyper-automation where machine intelligence becomes the primary driver of productivity, creating vast new pools of wealth but simultaneously rendering a significant portion of the traditional human workforce economically obsolete. This impending great labor transition is an existential threat to societal stability because our current economic models are inextricably linked to the assumption of near full employment and continuous wage growth. The wealth generated by intelligent machines risks being captured by capital owners, creating unprecedented levels of inequality and social stratification globally. Addressing this challenge requires a complete rethinking of economic distribution, social welfare, and the very definition of a meaningful human contribution outside of remunerated work. The first critical concern is the unprecedented speed and scope of job displacement. Previous industrial shifts took decades, allowing for gradual labor market adaptation and reskilling. AI, however, eliminates entire categories of work almost instantaneously, targeting not just factory floors but middle-class knowledge jobs like accounting, legal research, and customer service. These cognitive tasks are proving easier to automate than complex manual dexterity. This is creating a skills gap inversion where the demand for narrowly specialized AI engineers surges while the demand for broad generalist administrative and analytical workers collapses. The resulting polarization hollows out the middle class, the historic bedrock of economic and political stability in developed nations. Failure to manage this rapid technological unemployment will lead to mass economic precarity, reduced consumer demand, and a structural deflationary crisis as labor income shrinks worldwide. The economic engine designed for human consumption will stall when production is fully automated but purchasing power vanishes. A fundamental policy response must center on establishing a universal basic safety net, or UBSN, which extends beyond the traditional concept of a universal basic income. The UBSN must be a composite structure providing not just a basic income floor but also universal access to critical human infrastructure. This includes guaranteed healthcare, affordable housing, and free lifelong education and vocational training. The goal of the UBSN is twofold. First, to ensure that every citizen can meet their fundamental needs and live a life of dignity regardless of their employment status. Second, to provide the necessary psychological and financial security for people to engage in continuous reskilling and entrepreneurial risk-taking. Funding such a system requires innovative fiscal mechanisms that capture a share of the value created by automation. This could involve automation taxes levied on companies proportional to their use of automated systems, or significant reforms to corporate and capital gains taxation to reflect the societal contribution of machine-derived wealth. The wealth generated by AI is a collective human inheritance, and its benefits must be broadly shared, not hoarded by a few technological oligarchs. The second major area of concern is the obsolescence of education systems designed for a slow-changing world. Our current models reward the accumulation of fixed knowledge and predictable expertise, which are the very attributes most easily replaced by AI. The focus must immediately shift from teaching what to think to teaching how to learn and how to be human in a machine world. Education must prioritize uniquely human capacities such as creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, ethical reasoning, and complex collaboration. These are the skills that remain essential for solving novel, unstructured problems that machines cannot yet handle. Lifelong learning must become an integral part of the labor contract, supported by government subsidies and employer mandates. Workers must be continuously cycle through periods of work and periods of intense retraining, supported by their basic income floor. The educational transformation must involve modular micro-credentialing and personalized learning paths enabled by AI itself, allowing workers to rapidly acquire and update niche skills required by the evolving economy. The psychological and sociological impact of this transition must also be proactively addressed. For centuries, human identity, self-worth, and social status have been inextricably tied to professional work and productive output. When machines take over the majority of necessary tasks, a crisis of purpose and meaning could easily emerge, leading to widespread alienation, anxiety, and social unrest. Society must collectively redefine what constitutes a valuable contribution to the community. Non-market activities such as caregiving, civic engagement, artistic creation, scientific research, and community building must be recognized and celebrated as fundamental human work deserving of social respect and support. Policy must support the creation of public infrastructure for meaning, including heavily subsidized arts and cultural programs, accessible volunteer networks, and green spaces for community interaction. We must pivot from a purely gross domestic product metric to a gross domestic well-being, or GDW metric, prioritizing the quality of human life and social cohesion over mere economic output. This requires shifting the cultural narrative from one that glorifies endless work to one that celebrates purposeful leisure and creative exploration. The freedom from compulsory toil can be humanity's greatest achievement, not its greatest tragedy, if we plan correctly. The rise of the AI-mediated gig economy is another manifestation of this structural shift, demanding regulatory intervention. Platforms use sophisticated algorithms to manage vast distributed human workforces, often classifying them as independent contractors to shed the responsibilities of traditional employers. This practice leads to a massive transfer of risk and cost onto individual workers, who lose access to health insurance, retirement, and collective bargaining rights. The algorithm dictates pay reviews and dismissals with no human recourse or transparency. Legislators must create a third employment category that mandates proportional benefits and basic labor protections for all platform-dependent workers, regardless of their classification. This ensures that technological efficiency does not come at the cost of basic human security and fairness. The algorithmic management of labor must also be regulated for bias and transparency, preventing systems from unfairly penalizing workers or perpetuating discriminatory pay practices. The human experience of work must remain dignified even when mediated by code. Furthermore, the globalized nature of AI requires a transnational coordinated policy response. Unilateral actions by individual nations will be insufficient, as AI technology transcends all physical borders. International organizations like the G20, the International Labour Organization, and technology alliances must collaborate to establish common standards for labor displacement management, taxation, and ethical AI usage. A global social fund financed by the automation dividend could support developing nations disproportionately impacted by the inability to compete with machine-driven manufacturing and services. This is a matter of global economic justice and a prerequisite for lasting peace. We must avoid a scenario where the world splits into highly automated wealthy enclaves and vast impoverished regions of technologically obsolete labor. Shared prosperity requires shared responsibility and a global commitment to inclusive technological progress. In conclusion, the coming era of hyper-automation presents humanity with a unique choice. We can allow technological determinism to exacerbate inequality and destabilize societies, or we can harness the immense productivity gains to create a genuinely more equitable and humane world. The time for incremental adjustment is over. We need bold structural reforms that recognize the new economic reality. Establishing a comprehensive universal basic safety net, reforming education to prioritize human unique skills, and creating a new social contract that redefines human value outside of market labor are not optional luxury policies, they are essential prerequisites for civilizational resilience in the automated age. We must choose foresight over fragmentation, planning over panic, and shared prosperity over concentrated wealth. This urgent collective action is the defining mission of our time. The pervasive integration of advanced artificial intelligence into every facet of human communication and experience is fundamentally altering the boundaries of our internal and external worlds. This technological shift presents a profound existential challenge to human consciousness, truth, and the very concept of a stable self. As intelligent machines become not just tools but mediators of reality, our capacity to discern authenticity, truth, and objective fact is systematically eroded. We are entering an age of synthetic reality where what we see, hear, and believe may be computationally generated, manipulated, or entirely false. Navigating this new cognitive landscape requires an urgent philosophical regrounding, a massive effort to cultivate digital resilience, and a societal commitment to safeguarding the integrity of human perception and autonomy. The battle for the future will not be fought over resources or territory but over the control of information and the sanctity of the human mind. The most immediate threat to human cognition is the crisis of synthetic media, commonly known as deepfakes. These AI-generated videos, audio, and texts are now indistinguishable from genuine content capable of fabricating speech, actions, and entire events with perfect fidelity. This capability has already triggered a collapse in epistemological trust, making it increasingly difficult for citizens to believe their own eyes and ears when consuming media. The ability to dismiss any piece of inconvenient evidence as a fabricated deepfake cripples democratic discourse, judicial process, and even personal relationships. When truth becomes computationally optional, a society loses its ability to form a shared basis for reality, and constructive collective action becomes impossible. This information pollution cycle must be combated through a combination of technological and behavioral defenses. We need robust digital provenance tools that cryptographically verify the origin and history of media, and widespread public education on critical digital literacy. Trust must be shifted from the perceived fidelity of the content to the verified integrity of its source. This demands a massive investment in decentralized verification systems and global media standards. Beyond the manipulation of external reality, AI is rapidly converging with the internal human world through cognitive augmentation technologies. The development of high-bandwidth brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs, promises to link human thought directly to machine intelligence. These interfaces are designed to treat neurological disorders, restore motor function, and eventually enhance cognitive performance by seamlessly integrating external computational power with biological neural networks. This merging fundamentally blurs the line between human thought and machine processing. Where does a decision originating from a machine-assisted neural network begin, and where does human intention end? The ethical and legal implications of this fusion are immense. Questions about cognitive ownership, mental privacy, and the susceptibility of augmented thought to hacking or external control must be resolved before widespread deployment. We must establish a new set of neurorights protecting the integrity of mental experience and demanding transparency regarding how data extracted from the brain is stored, processed, and used. The right to cognitive liberty, the freedom to choose whether or not to augment one's mind, is a fundamental human right that must be fiercely protected from both corporate pressure and state coercion. The philosophical challenge of preserving human identity and autonomy is magnified by the sheer power of adaptive intelligent systems. Personalized AI assistants already learn our preferences, habits, and weaknesses with startling accuracy, often predicting our next move better than we can ourselves. While convenient, this algorithmic omnipresence risks creating a state of psychological dependency where individuals outsource critical thinking and decision-making to machines. We may become highly efficient but ultimately less autonomous, less resilient, and less capable of self-discovery. The self is forged through struggle, error, and non-optimized choices. An environment engineered for perfect convenience risks eliminating the friction necessary for moral and cognitive growth. We must actively cultivate algorithmic resistance, encouraging individuals to periodically disengage from automated suggestions and exercise their independent faculty for choice, promoting intellectual friction and maintaining spaces for unoptimized reflection are vital acts of preservation. The automation of intellectual labor also forces a deep re-examination of what defines human value and self-worth. For centuries, our identity has been closely tied to our unique cognitive abilities, our capacity for complex calculation and rational thought. As AI surpasses human capability in virtually all quantifiable cognitive domains, this traditional foundation of human superiority crumbles. We must pivot our societal emphasis towards the inherent non-quantifiable aspects of being human. This includes our capacity for genuine empathy, compassion, creative ambiguity, aesthetic appreciation, and the deep pursuit of meaning. These are the domains where human experience remains irreplaceable and where our value must be redefined. The future requires a renaissance in the humanities and arts celebrating the uniquely human capacity to create experience and connect. We must prioritize the cultivation of emotional intelligence and moral imagination over mere technical competence. Furthermore, the global connectivity facilitated by technology introduces a pervasive risk of digital herd mentality. Social media and recommendation algorithms create echo chambers and accelerate the formation of extreme polarized views. These systems are optimized for engagement, which often means promoting emotionally charged divisive content, thus undermining rational deliberation and societal cohesion. The resulting psychological fragmentation poses a significant threat to democratic processes and civil society worldwide. Governing this cognitive infrastructure requires holding platforms accountable for the systemic effects of their algorithms, demanding transparency in their content promotion policies, and empowering users with greater control over their information feeds. The goal is not censorship but the creation of a healthy digital public sphere where diverse ideas can coexist and rational debate can occur without algorithmic distortion. Ultimately, the successful navigation of this hyper-intelligent era depends entirely on the cultivation of inner human resilience. We must recognize that technology is not a benign force but a powerful engine that demands constant ethical and psychological engagement. This resilience requires embracing a culture of continuous philosophical inquiry, questioning the assumptions behind every technological convenience and intentionally seeking out diverse perspectives. We must learn to coexist with powerful intelligent systems without sacrificing our sense of self, our moral compass, or our capacity for independent critical thought. The greatest challenge posed by AI is not what the machines can do but what we will allow ourselves to become in their presence. Maintaining our humanity, preserving our autonomy, and defending the sanctity of our minds against the seductive power of synthetic reality are the final non-negotiable tasks of this revolutionary age. Our ability to govern the technology is secondary to our ability to govern ourselves. The integrity of the human mind is the ultimate frontier, and its defense is paramount to the survival of a meaningful civilization. The arrival of general-purpose artificial intelligence has initiated a new and dangerous geopolitical arms race unlike any seen before in human history. This competition is not for nuclear supremacy or economic dominance but for the fundamental capability to control the future trajectory of technology itself. The nations that achieve decisive superiority in AI research, deployment, and compute infrastructure will gain unprecedented military, economic, and surveillance advantages, effectively establishing a new form of global hegemony. This struggle for AI dominance is inherently destabilizing because the technology is dual-use, highly opaque, and extremely fast-moving, making traditional diplomatic efforts and arms control treaties obsolete before they are even ratified. Every major global power views AI not merely as a tool for economic growth but as the ultimate instrument of state power and national security, creating a dangerous zero-sum mentality where cooperation is viewed as strategic weakness. The nature of modern conflict is being radically transformed by autonomous weapon systems, or AWS. These machines can identify, select, and engage targets without human intervention, operating at speeds and scales that human decision-makers cannot possibly match. This capability dramatically lowers the threshold for conflict acceleration and catastrophic miscalculation. A failure of an AI system, a malicious hack, or a simple data corruption incident could trigger large-scale warfare before leaders have time to fully understand the situation or de-escalate. The removal of the human in the loop fundamentally challenges international humanitarian law and the principles of moral responsibility. If an autonomous drone mistakenly kills civilians, who is held accountable? The programmer, the commander, the manufacturer, or the algorithm itself? Establishing clear international protocols and verifiable checks on the use of lethal autonomous weapons is not merely an ethical concern, it is an absolute necessity for preventing an accidental global conflict driven by machine speed and opaque logic. A global moratorium on the development and deployment of fully autonomous offensive weapons is an essential first step toward collective safety. The second profound challenge is the AI governance gap. The speed of technological innovation consistently outpaces the capacity of national legislative bodies and international organizations to formulate effective regulatory frameworks. Governments are trapped in a reactive posture, attempting to regulate technologies that they barely understand and that are evolving quarterly, not yearly. This regulatory lag allows powerful techno-oligarchies, major technology corporations, to set de facto global standards through their products, their platforms, and their market dominance. These corporations effectively become sovereign entities wielding influence that rivals and often exceeds that of nation-states. This concentration of power in a few non-state actors poses a direct threat to democratic governance and the principle of popular sovereignty. Decisions that profoundly impact billions of lives regarding privacy, data control, and information access are being made by unelected corporate boards driven primarily by profit maximization. Closing this gap requires establishing agile governance mechanisms that use regulatory sandboxes, iterative policy updates, and independent expert bodies with the power to rapidly assess and respond to emerging AI risks. We must move beyond slow static legislation to dynamic enforceable standards. The erosion of national sovereignty is further hastened by the rise of AI-enabled surveillance and foreign influence operations. Intelligent systems are now used to map entire populations, to identify dissent, to propagate highly targeted disinformation, and to interfere with democratic elections at an unprecedented scale and sophistication. Foreign state actors can deploy synthetic content and personalized narratives to sow social discord, undermine trust in institutions, and manipulate public opinion, effectively waging cognitive warfare without firing a single shot. The defense against this threat must be holistic, involving the development of domestic AI systems for counter-disinformation, the strengthening of cybersecurity infrastructure, and the cultivation of a digitally literate citizenry capable of recognizing and resisting sophisticated manipulation. The protection of democratic processes from algorithmic interference is a paramount concern for all free societies. This requires mandatory transparency regarding the use of AI in political advertising and platform content amplification policies. Addressing these global threats requires a commitment to multilateral cooperation and the establishment of robust international norms. Individual nation-states cannot effectively regulate a technology that is inherently global in its deployment and impact. We need a binding international agreement, an AI stability treaty, perhaps modeled on non-proliferation agreements or climate accords, that sets clear red lines on dangerous applications of AI. This treaty should focus on 4 key areas: first, prohibiting autonomous offensive weapons; second, establishing global standards for algorithmic transparency and auditing, particularly in systems affecting human rights and public safety; third, creating a shared international compute resource for independent AI safety research and verification; and fourth, establishing an international AI monitoring agency with the power to conduct inspections and enforce compliance. The development of AI must be guided by principles of beneficence, non-maleficence, and justice, ensuring that the technology serves all of humanity, not just a powerful few. The challenge is complicated by the inherent cultural and ideological differences among nations regarding data privacy and state control. Some nations prioritize collective security and state oversight, viewing vast data collection as an essential tool for social management, while others emphasize individual liberty and digital rights. Reconciling these divergent views requires finding common ground on universally accepted human values such as the right to life, the avoidance of catastrophic harm, and the protection of basic human dignity. The dialogue must be continuous, inclusive, and focused on risk reduction as the primary driver of cooperation. preventing an accidental global catastrophe is a shared interest that transcends ideological divides. Furthermore, the benefits of AI must be equitably distributed globally, preventing the technology from simply widening the existing economic gap between the global north and the global south. Technology transfer and capacity building programs supported by developed nations are crucial for ensuring that AI development is inclusive and beneficial for all. Ultimately, the successful navigation of this geopolitical transition requires a commitment to preserving human agency and control. The final decision regarding life, death, and fundamental rights must always remain with accountable human beings, not delegated entirely to an unfeeling algorithm. The principle of meaningful human control, or MHC, must be enshrined in international law, ensuring that human operators maintain the ability to intervene, override, and take responsibility for critical system outcomes. This is the last line of defense against both accidental harm and deliberate misuse of powerful autonomous technologies. The future of global stability, democracy, and human flourishing depends on our ability to govern this technology wisely, collectively, and with profound ethical humility. We must choose global cooperation over nationalistic competition, regulation over reckless innovation, and human safety over pure technological acceleration. The clock is ticking and the window for effective preemptive action is rapidly closing. The time for decisive global governance is now.